Stretching across 2,400 kilometers of the Earth's crust, the Himalayas form a massive, jagged wall of ice and rock. When you look at it from above, the sheer scale of this terrain is deeply intimidating. For geography students, memorizing the layout of this region feels like trying to organize chaos. There are thousands of individual peaks scattered across a folded landscape, with no obvious grid or pattern to follow. To make sense of it, we have to drop the macro view and trace a single path. We are going to start at the absolute western edge and move strictly from west to east. By pinning down the top 10 most crucial peaks along this horizontal line, you can permanently lock the geography of the entire subcontinent into your memory. These mountains are not randomly placed. Their specific order reveals the physical logic that dictates the weather, the rivers, and the borders of South Asia. We anchor the extreme western edge of our map right here in the Kashmir region with Nanga Parbat. Shifting slightly north into the neighboring Karakoram range gives us our second anchor, K2, also known as Mount Rodwin Austen. Sitting in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, this is the second highest peak on Earth. Its steep, pyramid-like slopes and extreme weather give it a far more lethal reputation than Everest. Resuming our main path and flying southeast, we cross directly into the Indian state of Uttarakhand. Here, we hit a dense cluster and place our next marker on the peak of Kamet. Immediately to Kamet's east sits Nanda Devi. It is a vital marker because it sits entirely within Indian territory, firmly securing the central portion of our map. These western and central anchors operate as the initial boundary stones. Their height forces incoming weather systems to compress and drop rain across northern India. As we cross into Nepal, the topography changes. We see an immediate spike in both base elevation and the sheer density of the mountains. The first Nepalese giant in our sequence is Dhaulagiri. Moving further east, we immediately hit the massive Annapurna Range. We continue east until we reach the highest topographical point on the planet, Mount Everest. Notice the dark, exposed rock at the very top. The summit sits so high into the jet stream that severe winds constantly scour the peak, preventing heavy snow from ever settling on the rock. We complete this specific Nepalese cluster by moving just slightly east of Everest, dropping a pin on Makalu. This tightly packed row of giants exists here for a specific reason. This is the absolute maximum point of tectonic collision, where the Indian plate is driving under the Eurasian plate with the greatest force. Leaving Nepal, we cross back onto the Indian border at Sikkim to map Kanchenjunga. This is India's highest undisputed peak, a towering 5-point massif that dominates the eastern horizon. Finally, we make a long jump to the far eastern limit of the Himalayan range to place our last anchor on Namcha Barwa. Namcha Barwa acts as a massive geographic pillar. Its sheer physical bulk forces the mighty Brahmaputra River to execute a massive hairpin U-turn right at its base, redirecting the water straight down into India. To lock this entire sequence into memory, students use a specific mnemonic phrase. Nanda Dhauli is useful for the naked, Makalu Kanchan is the food for the Everest. The words follow the terrain exactly. Naked identifies Nanga Parbat, followed by Kamet, Nanda Devi, Dhaulagiri, Annapurna, Everest, Makalu, and Kanchenjunga. Every word tracks our movement from west to east. This string of words preserves the sequence of the High Titans, linking their names to their exact placement on the Earth's crust. Pulling out to a macro view of South Asia, all 10 of our anchors become visible at once. Together, they form a perfect, unbroken arc, stretching from Nanga Parbat to Namcha Barwa. The first major consequence of this arc is extreme climate defense. This wall catches the lethal, freezing winds blowing down from Central Asia, blocking them from entering the Indian plains. In the opposite direction, the height of these peaks physically traps the summer monsoon clouds, forcing them to release their rain. That water feeds the complex river systems that sustain billions of lives. Mapping these 10 anchors establishes the permanent layout of the tectonic spine that dictates the climate and culture of the entire subcontinent.